I don't know when I really first caught the food bug or the cooking bug, but my mom was always having me in the kitchen growing up, just, Christmas cookies, whatever. And I remember when I was like 8 or 9 years old, we were living on a farm out in the middle of nowhere, didn't have TV, and we actually had a television, we just couldn't get reception. And I was sick a lot. We drove about 45 miles to school, and so if I was sick, we just wouldn't go in, and I would watch a video or something like that during the day. And I had one video in particular that I was just obsessed with, and it was a New York Times cooking video by Craig Claiborne. And I watched that thing till I completely ruined the video cassette. And I was fascinated by how he would make a souffle, stuffing pork chops, like all this kind of stuff just seemed like a completely other world type of experience to me. And I think maybe that was the beginning of it. And both of my parents cared about food, and they were, in their own way, pretty good cooks. My dad was more of a gourmet. This was 1983, 84. I remember him bringing home bottles of aged balsamic vinegar and pouring it into the well of an avocado and eating that with a little bit of salt. And that just seemed really interesting to me. And he'd bring home stinky cheeses and put them in the freezer. And my mom was a little bit more rootsy, just like, brownies, cookies, pies, that kind of thing. But she'd always have me in the kitchen cooking. So as I grew older, I continued to just do stuff around the house, cooking whenever I had the chance, looking through magazines, finding recipes, wanting to cook them, wanting to try them. And then as I got older, I loved throwing parties where I'd cook for people. When my wife and I were first married, continued to do the same thing, but it was always a question of money and not really having the money to cook the way I wanted to. So on this trip that I took up to Seattle, and I found out about the underground restaurant, the idea of having people over, covering your costs and cooking whatever you wanted to, and just having strangers that you would feed. I really love that idea, that concept. And it seemed to solve a couple things for me. One is the financing of the thing. Two, I could set my own pace, learn my own stuff, really explore whatever I wanted to. And then it was this convivial hospitality kind of atmosphere that I've always loved, feeding people, celebrating, that kind of thing. And so started doing that in August of 2008. Found out about it in May in Seattle, decided I was going to do it. And the very first one was August 30th of 2008. And I sent out 5 emails, and I had a couple $100 that I bought some wine and got the food for the dinner and rented some plates and chairs and all that kind of thing. And it really just grew from there, took off from there. And I never anticipated it or thought that it was going to turn into a life's work or a calling or anything other than just a fun time. But now 5 years later, it's become much, much bigger than I really anticipated. I'm still trying to wrap my head and my arms around what it's become. But that was sort of the origin of the whole thing.